Hi, I'm Chelsea Castro, lawyer turned psychotherapist and coach on a mission to help you live, work, and feel better. Welcome to my channel where we use science to help you improve your focus, increase your productivity, and decrease that stress so that you can enjoy your ambition again, and maybe even your life too. So, without further ado, let's get to work. This week, we're focusing in on the benefits of music for our brains. So yes, if you guys remember that PSA from the 90s, this is your brain on well, yeah, that's exactly what's happening here. This is your brain, and this, ladies and gentlemen, is your brain on music. So what are the origins between our human brains and music? You ever wonder that? Well, we're still not sure. There's no definitive answer here. But archaeologists have determined that the oldest carbon-dated musical instrument that has been identified was in Germany, and it was carbon-dated to back to 40,000 years ago. Try to wrap your mind around that. We don't know exactly how this flute-like instrument was used, or if it was ceremonial, if it was recreational. We just don't know. But we do know that it is an instrument, a musical instrument, that could have, in theory, been played by the humans as we know them. And so we're still kind of theoretical around that. And so we're still kind of theoretical about the actual reasons we even started music. One theory, a very popular one, argues that we developed music as a way of communicating across long distances, similar to how primates communicate across long distances today. Another theory argues that music is just naturally interpreted by our brains. So think of the rhythmic crashing of the ocean waves, or the rhythmic dropping of raindrops, whether they be straight from the sky or onto a plant leaf and then on down below. Think about the sound that the wind makes as it rustles through trees. Our brains often interpret this as music, in the same way as modern music. So it stands to argue, according to that second theory, that our brains naturally lend themselves to interpreting and therefore creating music based on the natural sounds around us. And then, of course, taking it right up from there. Going beyond the just natural, pleasant connection between our brains and music, if we look real far back into what we would call ancient history, but frankly is a whole lot newer than that 40,000-year-old flute that was found, the writings of Aristotle and Plato relate music to medicine. They write about how music is a part of medical healing. And while the earliest known reference to music in modern medical journals wasn't until the 1800s, this is significant, as we know the classical cultures of Greece and Rome did filter down into our Western cultures. So this idea of music, but not just music for pleasure, music as part of medicine, has been discussed in writings of Aristotle, of Plato, and has dated back to various cultures all around the world. While the earliest known reference to music as medical therapy in the medical literature of modern times isn't until the 1800s, music's role actually in American medicine didn't take root until sometime in the early 20th century, at the time that soldiers were recovering from their injuries after World War I. However, it didn't really take foot until many, many, many decades later, as a field of scientific study that merited true medical attention. So why? Why does music matter to our brains? See, music matters to our brains because we know for anecdotal reasons, but we also know for measurable scientific reasons. Music impacts our brain's chemistry. Scientists have been able to measure causation between music and increased levels of serotonin, norepinephrine, oxytocin, and also decreased levels of cortisol, epinephrine, adrenaline. If you're familiar with those hormones, you know that some actually reduce stress and increase calm, and others increase stress, and when removed, give an opportunity to increase calm. It's actually pretty cool stuff. And as a result, music has the ability to improve our moods. Now, I know this is probably not news to you, right? Like, some music makes you feel better. Great. But take that anecdotal experience and pair it with what the science backs up. See, science has found that with just 15 minutes of listening to music that we like, our dopamine is released significantly enough to give us a natural high. Yeah, that's right. Just 15 minutes of listening to music can give you a natural chemical high in your brain. Music can also even help you learn and improve memory because of how it stimulates your brain. Study after study has found that individuals who listened to music, in most cases classical music like that of Mozart, showed significantly higher scores in challenges that involved analytical thinking, memory, complex processes, than when compared to those individuals who did this very same tests either with white noise or absolute silence. And then, of course, going beyond the neurochemicals, scientists are now also studying how certain tones of music get a response out of our brains. Have you heard of what are we calling that? Binaural beats? We'll have a whole separate video on binaural beats another time, because that deserves this whole separate conversation. But it's essentially, in a nutshell, exposing our brain to two different tones, and our brain, noticing the disparity between these tones, automatically creates a third non-existent tone that we only ourselves hear in our minds, that automatically levels out the two actual tones being sounded. So we create a third invisible, imaginary tone without even trying. And in doing so, our brains actually get into a very relaxed state for increased focus, increased mood, improved memory, all sorts of really interesting stuff. So it probably goes without saying, but music also has the power to connect us. Think of national anthems, songs that we all sing at concerts together. Auld Lang Syne on New Year's Eve. There's a really interesting element here that goes just beyond culture, because as we noted before, music has a chemical response to our brains. Because as we noted before, music elicits a neurochemical response in our brains. There are certain types of music that actually elicit oxytocin, that bonding hormone that is often discussed in the developing relationship between newborns and parents. Yeah, you can get that with the crowd around you just because of music. All right, so some quick tips on what you can start doing today around music to help improve your well-being. Well, first and foremost, listen to upbeat but gentle, upbeat music in the morning to help you get going. We know that gentle, upbeat music is going to increase those serotonin levels, increase those endorphins, to get you in that waking up state of pleasantness and looking forward to your day. Beyond the first part of your day and further into your calendar, playing soothing music such as classical or soft rock or nature relaxation sounds such as those like ocean waves or light rain that we discussed earlier while you're trying to focus on a task can be very helpful as well. If you don't know where to start, just go with Mozart. Just keep in mind to be intentional about your listening, because that music is going to have an impact on you. And we want to make sure that it has a positive and desired impact. All right, well, that's all we have for this week. Remember, I post a new video every single week. So if you like this content and want to see more, feel free to comment below and hit subscribe and like down below as well. Until next time, let's get to work.